Well, you can argue that Kansas is the heart of America's heartland, but don't expect any brotherly love in these parts. We are in the middle of NASCAR playoffs and championship hopes are fading fast. 4 races remain until we find out who our Final Four is. Welcome into this week's edition of Around the Track. I'm Carla Metz, and time is running out for some of NASCAR's elite in both the Cup and the Xfinity Series. However, we've got plenty of time to talk today, and that includes talking with a guy fighting for his Cup Series title dreams. That's driver of the 45 for 2311 Racing, Tyler Reddick. And before we get to that interview, let's drop the flag on a fan favorite because we are headed to Kansas this weekend, and it's not just a fan favorite. This is a track that drivers absolutely love. It's worn out, it's old, yet somehow still has grip for the cars to hold through the turns. There are multiple grooves to run in that all have speed. The question is, which one will get you to the front? And since there are so many lanes to run, restarts are like being at a short track. It's a mosh pit where we see races go 3 wide. We're going to hear a lot about air blocking this race this weekend too, but why don't we let you hear it from the drivers first?
You know, I feel like with the package and things that have worked for us this year, that style of 1.5 miles where it's like kind of wore out, you could run the fence, you can move around some, those have been great places for us. And man, thinking back on Kansas, that was probably one of the best cars I've had this year.
The toughest thing is just going to be just going out there and doing it and not eliminating yourself. And I think that, you know, all of us, myself, Denny, Chase, we're all, even Bubba and Tyler, like all of the Toyotas, they're going to have speed. We're going to be capable. So just got to, you know, dot your I's and cross your T's and do your job. So I think if it's up to car performance, we'll probably be fine. But, you know, the execution side and finishing the races out, making sure that you make, you know, the right decisions on restarts, the right strategy calls, you know, not making mistakes on long green flag runs, stuff like that is going to be the difference maker in the round of 12.
All right, so let's get those track trends going. Experience matters here at Kansas. We've never had a first-time Cup winner in 39 races here. That's more than any other track that we go to every year. The pass for the win has come usually in the final 2 laps in 3 of the last 5 Kansas races, including 2 last lap passes. Here's a weird quirk of a stat. The driver who's led the most laps has won just once in the last 6 races here. The winner of the fall Kansas race has gone on to win the championship 4 times, but only twice in the playoff era. And one guy is Martin Truex Jr. The other, last year's winner at this track, that would be Kyle Larson. It's time now to bring in the flashiest guest on Around the Track. You know him as the man who breaks all the stories in NASCAR, one of the most well-connected people in the garage area. This is NASCAR insider, the Athletics, Jordan Bianchi. These playoffs have been full of storylines, Jordan, but of course we come to Kansas and it's been an exciting time.
It has. A lot of storylines. Joe Gibbs Racing dominated the first round. Ryan Blaney and Team Penske kind of made their statement last week, and now we go to a Kansas track where Hendrick Motorsports, the spotlight's on them, and can they come back and respond now to those other 2 organizations? And can we see a Kyle Larson? Can we see a William Byron who won the regular season championship? Can we see them assert themselves as a title favorite?
Yeah, you mentioned Hendrick Motorsports, but there have been a lot of different winners here because everyone finds their own way and their own speed at this track. Jordan, what have you heard from teams about why this track is so special?
They love it. They can pass. Ever since NASCAR's gone to this next-gen car in 2022, this is a track that really opens up the playbook, if you will, in multi-grooves. You know, drivers can control what line they want to go in. If tire wears here, it really puts an onus on a driver's skill set to manage those tires. And then when those tires start to fade, how do you manage your car and keep it under control? This is a fast place. It's a treacherous place. It's an exciting place, and has become consistently one of NASCAR's best tracks.
All right, race 2 of the second round, and there are some drivers who have some work to do. One of those guys that doesn't, that's Team Penske's Ryan Blaney. Of course, his big win at Loudon assured him a spot in the round of 8. However, look at this. Both 2311 cars at the bottom, along with Austin Cindric and Ross Chastain. Chase Briscoe and Chase Elliott are right above the cut line, but kind of chasing the pack. When you look at this, Jordan, who's grateful we're going to Kansas? to get to this point in the playoffs?
Well, the name that jumps out is Ross Chastain, the defending race winner. I mean, the last time NASCAR raced on a mile-and-a-half racetrack, proper one, not Atlanta like a drafting track, but was Charlotte in Memorial Day weekend. Who won that race? That was Ross Chastain. So he, looking at his spot in the playoff standings right now, needs a lot of points. He needs a good day. This is a really good opportunity for him to get healthy and kind of assert himself going into Roval a little bit. And then the other two guys, Tyler Reddick and Bubba Wallace, each a former winner here. They haven't had a lot of success here in the last few years, but this is a good opportunity for them on a mile-and-a-half racetrack to maybe get a win, because they're in a point hole that may they not be able to overcome without a win.
All right, let's talk about JGR for a minute. Of course, that means we got to talk about Denny Hamlin, 5th in the rankings right now. He's already, for now, kind of secured his spot a little bit with the points. Certainly some drama, though. Joe Gibbs Racing having the dust-up last week between Ty Gibbs and Denny. Of course, Ty not being in the playoffs. What have you heard about what's going on within the walls of JGR and how this drama could possibly affect things?
Well, I mean, what it is you're a playoff driver and you expect your teammate who's not in the playoffs to kind of, have a little bit more of an etiquette, if you will. And the message going into the Monday competition meeting at Joe Gibbs Racing was, this is how we should proceed going forward. And let's give our teammates who are racing for a championship a little bit more of a grace. And that's something that Ty Gibbs isn't used to. He's only a third-year driver, doesn't have a lot of experience. And sometimes, he's still kind of coming into his own a little bit and can kind of lack the perspective, if you will, on how to handle these situations. The expectation is that message has been conveyed to him, and going forward, if you're racing your teammate who's in the playoffs, maybe you cut them a break a little bit.
Yeah, even if you're the grandson.
Especially then, because your name's on the company building, as Denny Hamlin said, and maybe there's a little bit more of an understanding of my spot's secured here. I need to step back and let the greater organization kind of step forward. Yeah,
definitely would agree with you on that. Of course, we still got a lot of playoffs left to go, but of course, we got to talk a little bit about silly season, NASCAR's free agency. That's what we call it. We know already a few names in the hopper, but there are some hot seats for some guys and some certain rides. What might we be looking at next year and some guys that maybe have or have not found homes yet?
Yeah, I mean, the one big name right now left on the market is Daniel Suarez. He's leaving Trackhouse Racing. That's already been announced. And Daniel has said that he's going to be in the Cup Series next year and with full-time opportunity. Now, where's that going to be? You look around the landscape a little bit, there's not too many seats that are available. The name I keep hearing, the place I keep hearing for him is maybe Spire Motorsports. We'll see if that comes together. Now, if Suarez goes to Spire, he's going to have to unseat somebody, and that would probably be Justin Haley. I've reported earlier this year Justin Haley was on the hot seat. There was some frustration about his performance. Now, it's gotten a little bit better, but the results still aren't consistently there, so Justin could be in danger of losing his ride. We'll see.
Be a big shakeup for Spire Motorsports over the last couple of seasons. Well, Jordan is sticking around, and so should you, because one of NASCAR's best is on deck, and he's trying to figure out how to get back into the title picture.
We're kind of looking to get back to what we've been able to do in years past there. I think, not just myself, but Bubba as well. We're both in a spot where we need to really get back on the right side of things in points.
The pressure is on for 23-11. If the round of 8 started today, both Tyler and Bubba would be on the outside looking in. We're talking to the 45 about getting on track next. And two legends are teaming up to mentor two of the sport's future greats. Who has Dale Jr. tapped to be his latest crew chief? You're about to find out. And don't let this guy fool you. Jordan is a huge wrestling fan, and like you, he got to watch two drivers square up in the squared circle. We'll show you what we're talking about next on Around the Track. One of NASCAR's most popular figures doesn't quite know what his future holds. That's Corey LaJoie, who does not have a full-time ride this year in Cup or Trucks. He still says he wants to drive next year in the Daytona 500, but won't consider any Truck Series offers in 2026. LaJoie said on his podcast, Stacking Pennies, that he's enjoyed doing TV. Of course, he's come on this show before, besides his duties on Amazon, but he's also talking about starting a carbon fiber business this year, that he ran a Rick Ware racing car in the 500 as well as other select Cup dates before doing a run for Spire in the Truck Series. And 2311 Racing has two cars remaining in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Of course, Bubba Wallace, and the man you're about to hear from, Tyler Reddick's run this season hasn't gone the way that he envisioned it, going from last year's championship four to having to race his way into the playoffs via points. He spoke with Mike Lissette in this week's Garage Confidential about how he's flipping the script on this wild 2025 season.
He drives the 45 and is one of the most popular drivers in all of NASCAR, but more importantly, he's a good friend of the show. Tyler Reddick, how are you, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me today.
Awesome. Tyler, after New Hampshire, I got to ask you, how good did it feel to see the words Kansas Speedway on the schedule?
Yeah, it was nice. You know, typically over the years, Loudon's been a track where we've been able to run top 10 all day and knock on the door getting top 5. But yes, this past Sunday was a rough one, and you know, it's good for us that we have Kansas coming up and the Charlotte Roval, obviously, the next week after.
Well, as far as Kansas goes, you've won there. Bubba's won there. What is it about that track that brings the best out of 2311 racing?
Yeah, I think over the years, you know, 2311 as a whole has done a good job of having a clean day and bringing really solid Toyota Camrys to the racetrack. You know, for us, the last couple of years, or the last couple of attempts, I should say, you know, we've just been off a little bit, but we've still, you know, been capable of running inside the top 10. So, yeah, we're kind of looking to get back to what we've been able to do in years past there. I think, you know, not just myself, but Bubba as well. We're both in a spot where we need to run top 5 all day to really get back on the right side of things in points. And obviously, winning would erase the bad weekend we had at Loudon too. So that's what we're going to be aiming for. And I think our path to winning the race and having a good points day are very, very similar. So we'll just try and qualify good and keep ourselves in the front all day, and either we'll score a lot of points or we'll win the race.
I don't get it, because when you entered the playoffs, you were looking for something positive. Then Darlington happened. You did very well there. What has been different, though, since then?
Yeah, you know, I think for us as a team, Darlington has been one of our better racetracks. I feel like the last couple of years there, even on a really bad day for me as a driver, we're still able to keep it in the top 10. So I think, you know, that one, while it was nice to go there and compete as well as we did, I would say even at our lowest of lows, we should be able to go to Darlington and run really, really well. Kansas is another one of those that I feel like as a driver has been a good track for me. I understand it well. It is crazy to think that, as I was told the other day, it's been since the World 600 since we've ran on 1.5 miles, and that was all the way back in May.
I know that when I get stressed, I start buying things. And I got to ask you, with the pressure on right now, has your shoe collection taken a huge increase in terms of volume? What's been going on? What shoes have you bought? What's the latest there?
Yeah, well, thankfully, being a Jordan Brand athlete,
Yes.
I'm not having to buy shoes. They're shipping them and they're showing up. Funny enough, got a new shipment yesterday, was going through a couple of them. You know, we got the playoff 8. I got the playoff 8s finally.
Those came out last year. Those have been out for a while. No?
Man, they may have. I'm not sure. Sometimes they will send stuff that isn't released. Sometimes they send me stuff that came out a little while ago. You know, the Travis Scotts that came out in September. They were really gracious. They sent those out about 2 months early to my house, so that was nice.
When do you get to dip your hand in this? What would be your custom design if you were to create your own Air Reddick?
Oh, man. I wasn't ready for a hard question. I'd say, I mean, I'm not the best creative person, but I would think if I had to pick a shoe, it's going to be a 5. From there, you know, I'm not totally sure. I could imagine, you know, replacing the 23 with the 45. Colors and whatnot, we'd have to figure out, but that's a start anyways.
I'm a sneaker guy too, so if you ever do design it, I will buy your shoe. I promise you that.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a good race this weekend.
Appreciate it, guys. Well, Connor Zilisch will be making his full-time Cup Series debut next season, but he's bringing a wily vet with him to make sure Trackhouse gets plenty of wins. A big name is changing teams, and we still haven't gotten to the Rodney Childers news just yet. 2 big crew chief changes next on ATT. And we've got this camera up at all times at Charlotte Motor Speedway. That's because the Roval is just a week away, and there are some things you need to know before you get revved up for it. We got more on Around the Track next.
The following contest is a WWE Women's Speed Tournament match with a 3-minute time limit.
Well, you know, NASCAR and professional wrestling just go hand in hand. Haas Factory Team racers Cole Custer and Sam Mayer both making an appearance this week on WWE's NXT. Cole, who was in the ring there last year, was a ring announcer, while Sam, well, he got mixed up with the wrong guys. Either way, we can confirm that there's some of NXT's wrestlers are going to be at the Charlotte Roval race next week. We'll have more on that shortly. Be sure to watch NXT every Tuesday on the CW. And the anticipation of Connor Zilich's Cup Series move just got even more interesting. Veteran crew chief Randall Burnett is moving to Trackhouse Racing. He's going to be at the top of the box for Zilich when he takes over the 99 car next season. Burnett's coming from Richard Childress Racing, where he's been the lead crew chief for Kyle Busch. They've won 3 times together, and he's an Xfinity Series champ with Tyler Reddick. Jordan, what does this kind of news do for NASCAR's phenom in Zilich?
It's a great pairing of a veteran crew chief and a young driver and their skill sets. Randall has a great opportunity here to really help a young phenom driver in Connor Zilich. And the thing with Randall is he has been down this road before. He was Tyler Reddick's crew chief in the Xfinity Series and then came up with him to the Cup Series and worked with Tyler as a rookie. And each year, they're 3 years together, they got better and better and they started winning races by year 3. This is a great pairing of a veteran and a young driver.
Yeah, big news there. Here's another crew chief move. The legendary Rodney Childers is joining Junior Motorsports to take over the One Team. He's going to guide Carson Quabble next season in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series. 40 victories in the Cup Series for the legend. He just left Spire Motorsports, but he's known for guiding Kevin Harvick to his Cup Series title. Both Quapple and Zilich will team up next season to drive the One. And of course, that's the now, but next week is NASCAR's wild card weekend. That means the Roval, and it is a love-hate relationship for this track. Some drivers are all about it. Some wish it would just go away. Jordan, you hear this all the time from people, right?
I do, and it's more hate than love at this point. It's a very challenging track. Drivers are confounded by it, but that's what makes it so interesting come the playoffs. And how this lays out is this isn't a traditional oval race. This is a road course race. It's chaotic. There's tight turns. A lot of things can happen. And as we know, chaos usually generates good storylines. So we'll see how that unfolds.
It sure does. And our friend Casey Funderburg got out on the track early to give us a preview with 2 of NASCAR's elite who are going to try to punch their ticket to the round of 8 in Charlotte.
17 turns, 2.28 miles. The Roval is a pivotal course in the NASCAR playoffs and has brought a lot of excitement to the sport since its debut in 2018. And this year, it's a triple header.
Not a lot of room for error in a number of areas around this racetrack. The layout of the corners and how they line up with one another. If you make a mistake in one area, you're going to pay for it in the next and possibly the one after that. So discipline, precision are very, very important in a place like this.
A mix between your typical oval and a road course, the Roval has produced a number of scenarios during its time. It's also the round of 12 cutoff race, creating high stakes for many drivers.
I typically would prepare for learning the corners. I prepare for people's scenarios and situations that are going to be around me, right? So I try to really study, okay, what are the people that are outside the cut line? Because when they get around you, the desperation becomes very big.
You know, you have to be very mindful around, you know, a number of cars. But at the same time, you know, if someone's way ahead of the cut line and needs to just have a safe day, you know, you can push the issue with those cars because they're not willing to have contact or crash just for one spot. So it's something you can use to your advantage and something you have to be aware of when you try to play defense.
And the best way to approach this course is by running all the laps.
Yeah, it's one that I feel like seat time around a place like this is very, very beneficial. There's not a lot of tracks that I'm aware of in America that compare to it. So lap time, getting seat time here is always very beneficial.
The triple header weekend will kick off right here at Charlotte Motor Speedway on October 3rd when the trucks take the Roval for the first time ever, followed by the Xfinity Series on Saturday and then the Cup Series on Sunday, October 5th.
Thanks, Casey. Well, one last lap to take, but when we return, we're all about KC barbecue, but these drivers don't want to smoke ribs. They want to smoke out their tires en route to the winner's circle. Victory Lane locks are next on Around the Track. All right, let's see who the sports books have doing well in Kansas this weekend. Of course, Kyle Larson is the favorite for now, just over 3.5 to 1 for the Hendrick Motorsports driver who hasn't won since we raced in Kansas back in May. Denny Hamlin is next at 6-1. William Byron and Ryan Blaney follow. Both of those guys at 7-1. Christopher Bell rounds out the top 5 at 9-1. But don't rule out our guy in Garage Confidential this week either. Tyler Reddick is at 11-1, and of course he has a win there already. But one last thing to do, we got to make our victory lane locks. And Jordan, you and I have actually picked the same one.
We're
so
smart.
You get to reveal who we picked this week.
We are going with Kyle Larson, who's won 2 of the last 3 races there. This is his track. You mentioned he hasn't won a race there since the spring, but they've got a lot of speed. This is his bread and butter, and it just feels like he's kind of coming on a little bit. I think this is a Kyle Larson weekend.
Well, I keep asking, where is Kyle Larson in the playoffs, right?
Yes.
You expect him to get hot at a certain place, and I think Kansas is certainly that place where he could take off and win like he always does. He just hasn't had that winning momentum yet.
They just haven't been able to break through. It's been close. A couple things have happened, and it just seems like they're on the cusp of kind of that. And it feels like you can get a win here, maybe next week at the Roval as well. This is the playoffs, like Laney last week in New Hampshire. It feels like the guys are kind of asserting themselves a little bit.
Yeah, back-to-back wins would be a lot for the number 5, but of course, Hinder Motorsports, like you mentioned, very good at Kansas. We hope you enjoy the race, and we'll see you next week ahead of the Roval.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.